Dawn is just beginning to break in the southern Illinois town of Carbondale. A university town today, its tallest buildings are dorms for students. Southern Illinois University was chartered here in 1869, but it would be nearly a century before it would become the dominant player in Carbondale. A half mile to the north, the rising sun illuminates downtown in a fiery orange glow. This was the original heart of Carbondale, and these buildings have stood here for over a century. Carbondale began as a railroad town, and the town square contains reminders of its historic connection. Down the street, the morning Amtrak train to Chicago backs out of the siding where it parks overnight before beginning the day's run. On campus, students begin to arrive for their morning classes. The students are a big part of why the train still runs today. At 7:30 on the dot, the northbound Saluki begins its 310-mile trip to the Windy City. The trains that come and go today are descendants of the trains that first gave life to the city of Carbondale. The Illinois Central Railroad was chartered on February 10, 1851, with construction beginning a year later. The railroad resembled a Y, the line from Cairo splitting near present-day Centralia, with branches to Chicago and East Dubuque on the Mississippi River. The hills of southern Illinois would be the greatest challenge, and surveyors selected a route following the course of a winding stream. Called Drury Creek today, that stream is crossed no less than 10 times in 10 miles. As construction crews worked their way north in August 1853, Daniel Brush of Murfreesboro, along with two partners, purchased 360 acres of land along the route between the planned stations of Makanda and DeSoto. Brush named his new town Carbondale after the abundant coal deposits being discovered in the area, and oversaw construction of a station as plots were laid out for the town. On July 4, 1854, the first train arrived in Carbondale amid an Independence Day celebration.
The inhabitants of the place were not numerous, but all were willing to work and resolved to make a splurge that should astonish not only the natives but strangers and railroaders also. It was announced that a free dinner would be furnished to all, and our people took hold with a will to make the promise good. I'd completed the freight house, afforded space for tables of plank from end to end 100 feet or more in length, arranged so that 500 persons could be seated at one time. About noon the rumble of the train was heard. Then came the shrill cry of the steam whistle, and soon the locomotive and cars slowed up and came to a stop opposite the freight house. The wonder-struck people shouted, some in terror, all in surprise. The 4th of July oration was pronounced in a grove near the station under a Union banner that I had purchased for the occasion, and the first one, I think, ever hoisted in the county. Daniel Brush.
As crews built their way north, more workers built south from Chicago and East Dubuque, and the last rail was laid on September 27, 1856, south of Effingham. At the time of its completion, the Illinois Central was the longest railroad in the world. As early as 1855, the IC began experimenting with coal as a locomotive fuel. Coal was found to be plentiful in southern Illinois, while finding wood for fuel in the vast prairies of the state was proving to be expensive. Not all were convinced that coal was the answer, as one newspaper columnist wrote,
"To infer that because coal burning has been successful with the Cumberland coal, a like success may be obtained with our Illinois coal is illogical and absurd. I regard the attempt to burn our Illinois coal as irrational, as to try to make a hedge on the open prairie of the Osage orange, or to grow the locust tree successfully in the northern half of our state. Neither can be done." B.F. Johnson.
As it turned out, using southern Illinois coal to fuel the locomotives was not only successful, it cost 2/3 less than wood. Coal mines began springing up around the region, and they needed a way to move their product.